Natalie,
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome in. Welcome to my home. Welcome to our studio. You have been on the radar of multiple people around me the past few months. You've been popping up more and more. I've talked about you with Coconut, with DMAC a little bit. It's nice to finally have you in here.
Thank you. You as well. And the first time that we really met each other was at the float center
Yes.
after my float.
What did you think, by the way?
Well, it's been interesting. It's been a journey, the float journey. So my first time, I literally couldn't close the pod. I was so afraid. And I thought, what if I die in here? Is that
No,
crazy?
that's a common thought or experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, what if I die in here and there's no air and I can't see anything. I couldn't tell if my eyes were open or closed because it was so pitch black. And so I kept it open. And then I was like, but I'm letting fear rule my life. So then I'd close it for a little bit. And then like fear would just I felt attacked really. And I was like, oh, okay, but now I need to leave it open so that I feel safe. And so the whole first time was like this battle. And I like half the time open, closed. And I don't remember who it was, but when I went to check out, they said, the first time, because I told them, they were like, how was it? And I said, oh, I was afraid. And they said, oh, the second time will be better. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a go again. And I went again. And the second time was magic. So.
Yeah, the third time really is the charm.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see like 9 out of 10 people experience this. I've watched thousands of people come in and float, and that third time's the sweet spot. It's really fascinating. And it's honestly, it shows a lot about you and your character that you had an experience like that the first time and then came back again, because that's how we actually adapt to something.
Right. Growth. I mean, really, my whole journey has been getting out of my comfort zone. I was just talking to a friend the other day and I was telling him, I think I've conditioned myself to feel uncomfortable in my comfort zone. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
I genuinely feel when I'm stagnant or when I'm not taking risks and growing, I feel dead. I just don't feel alive. And so even though I had that experience, I could have easily been like, oh, that's not for me. However, I knew that if I stuck with it, there'd be a breakthrough. And on the other side of every breakthrough is like ecstasy, bliss. And that's what I'm after.
That's amazing. Way to embody your philosophy, your practice in a completely different world. That's I really do feel like what we do and who we are builds this core system of operation, these attributes, these abilities. And it doesn't matter what it is, you're building abilities by doing something. And you have brought those abilities with you from your line of work, from your background, into floating.
Yeah.
And a couple of times we adjust, we get better and better. And then we have now a new tool in our arsenal.
Yes.
A new, piece of medicine in our medicine bag.
So good.
It's beautiful.
And now I go once a month.
Yeah, see, look at that. That's amazing.
And I love it. Like, it's my place. I could cry even just talking about it. I'm like getting emotional.
So that's also super common. We've had people come out and share like they went through some really, deep experiences in there, and they've cried, and people have had really powerful moments.
Yeah.
So it's a sacred little spot for sure.
It really is. It really is. And there's no distraction. So it's you and you. And the scariest place to venture is into you. I mean, the scariest place that I've ever journeyed has been the journey inside of my own self. And that's really where the breakthrough happens, when we get brave enough to have an encounter with the deepest and most authentic part of ourselves. And for me, that journey really started with walking through the layer of anxiety and fear. And underneath that, deep down, and don't you love how everybody always says, deep down, I know things are going to be okay, and I'm always like, what is that deep down place? And because at the very, very core, our being and our essence is pure unconditional love.
Mm.
And most people, including myself, my first time meditating, I mean, I just remember I was with my mom, and I got in the car afterwards and we went to a meditation spot together, and she goes, and when it was dark out, we were driving together and it was pitch black. And this was like a few years ago. And she's like, how was it? And I started crying. She's like, tears. And I was like, I'm suffering. I never want to do that again. Because the entire time I was bombarded with like tasks and anxieties and fears and stresses of worst case scenarios. And I was like, I'll never do it again. I'll never go there again. And I think that's why so many people avoid floating, journaling, silence, meditation, because that's really the journey.
Absolutely. The examples that you just gave, it's powerful because all of those in some form require solitude.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't have, distractions or other pieces of input that can pull us away from what we're actually feeling and going through,
Yeah.
there's a lot that can be discovered there.
Yeah.
And it really does feel like it's how we respond to those discoveries. Like that is the medicine, is our response to what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's an ice bath we talked about a little bit earlier, or public speaking, or anything. It's how we respond to that new piece of information now.
Mm-hmm.
And meditation helps us respond rather than react.
Mm-hmm.
It allows us to feel and perceive and comprehend the potentially chaotic mess of information around us and still become the eye of the storm. And still feel and hone back in and gain actual strength, and not just like power and force, but like momentum behind your movements.
Yeah.
That's very powerful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's truly it. It's that strength to have the endurance to face whatever is showing up. I mean, this week has been really a lot. I would say this week has been a storm, a mix of really awesome things and a mix of not so awesome things. Like, I had a really great business high, and I've had some really bad business lows. I mean, we lost 2 accounts this week due to outside people selling properties that we manage, because I'm also in that realm very deeply. So we manage a lot of apartments and help people invest in real estate and grow their passive income and wealth. And so learning, for me, the journey has been, and I can say this, and yet it's like every day is a new opportunity to relearn what I know. Does that make sense? Because it's like knowing is one thing, embodying is another.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so many people in this journey on mindset, we can just talk about the rhetoric all day, but how do you react when chaos shows up? And so, I'm a really big believer in I have to feel my emotions. I'm a human being. I'm here in 3D form, and I have emotions and I have emotional reactions to things that are happening. So I give myself the opportunity to feel whatever it is that comes up. I just don't stay there. I don't live in that emotional state.
Yeah, that's first of all amazing to hear, because just considering the normal way of being through the Western culture, it's on the other end of that spectrum. We usually don't feel things here.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do reside in that part of the spectrum as well. And it's through an observational tone without judgment, just pure perceiving. But when you perceive people who don't feel what's going on, there's almost like a disconnect of like they actually are just going from one thing to another. And when you are around people who do sit and feel what's happening, they're way more calm and grounded and are able to actually move a little bit more efficiently. Not that there won't be mistakes or that etc. It could be wrong, whatever, but the actual behavioral mechanisms of the people. And it's very important to feel the data, feel what's actually happening,
I like
because
that. Feel the data.
feel the data.
Feel that data. I love that.
That's awesome.
Feel that. I'm gonna like think of, like every time anything pops up and be like, I'm feeling that data right now. I'm feeling those inputs.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
So I talk about this often. This has been a recent recognition on my own journey. Our bodies are always in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
So our mind can actually be, in the future and the past and a lot of different dimensions even, but our body's always in the present.
Mm-hmm.
So when we feel things, it's actually grounding us deeper into where we are and what's happening, like our actual anchor of foundation. So to really touch back into the presence of the collection of everything, instead of being off on one branch where there's certain kinds of fruits or worms or whichever may be happening on that branch of the sensation, coming back into the roots and really getting the full gist of it. And I think that's what a lot of people aren't able to do, is feel the full wholeness or capacity of what's going on, because it's freaking scary, because of the insecurities, because what if I can't handle it, because the list goes
Because
on.
for me, it was like, what if I start feeling and I never stop crying? Like, what if I touch on something and then I like lose my shit, Like, what if I'm not able to perform in business if I allow myself to feel grief and sadness over what's happening with my mom, And I think I tend, and people have told me this, like that I tend to like have a more like masculine energy. And I think that's like the energy of like action, going, like, force and like all that. And so learning really to tap into that other part of me that we all have, like the feminine and masculine elements, and really allowing myself to feel. It's been like the scariest thing I've ever done, is actually feel my real emotion and not get stuck there. And so one of my teachers said, once you find the lesson in whatever you're feeling, then it'll allow you to release those emotions easily and effortlessly. And so when you're having an emotional trigger reaction, when emotions are coming up, I give myself the space, like I'll vent them out loud. I'll, say whatever I need to say or journal them. And then eventually I have to come to the place of, okay, what is the lesson in this? And the reason for that is then now I'm at cause for transitioning my energy into a more empowered state versus staying in victim mode to the reaction. So finding the lesson is very important. However, I feel like in the spiritual movement, people go straight to what's the lesson. They want to spiritualize everything. They want to, and this was me. I just, I grew up super like intense with intentional and intense. And my mom just my whole childhood was like, form follows thought, Natalie, what you think about, you bring about, and ask, believe, receive. And so like, if I ever said something like, Mom, I suck at math, for instance, like, oh, math is so hard and I'm just struggling in math, she'd always say, nope, nope, no. She'd be like, give me 3 positives right now, affirmations. And she'd make me like say, like, what's something good you can say? Math comes easily and effortlessly to me. So then I'd have to like repeat it. And then it'd be like, I love my math teacher. And I had to like say it, so it was like constant, which, any strength overused can become a weakness. And
dang, I like that.
Yeah. And so that was positive, and it really like created a mindset where I can go to the positive super, super quick and easy. And that got me so far in business and everything. And, our company was flourishing and I was making so much money, more money than I ever had. Yet my emotional body, my emotions never would touch them. Like I never would. I'm like, oh, that Pandora's box, like, oh, please. Like ain't nobody got time for that type thing, And it wasn't until I realized like that's what was stagnating me. And ultimately, no matter how much I achieved, no matter how many clients we had, no matter how many, my whole goal was to break 1 million in revenue on a consistent basis. And we've done that consistently, and we're well over 1 million now. And once I got that, I thought I'd be fulfilled. And then when that happened, and I wasn't fulfilled. In fact, I actually felt like emotionally bankrupt is how I would describe it. I was like, well, what's the point? And it was like my whole paradigm, and that's really what started me on that journey to really feeling my emotions and unpacking all of that. And so once you can find the lesson, but first you got to feel, deal, heal. That was my 2018 motto. Feel, deal, heal. So once we feel those, allow space for that, find that lesson, then that allows us to let go of those emotions easily and effortlessly, and they no longer have a hold on us. That's been the journey I've been on since 2017. Probably before that, but before that, but you know what I mean? Aware of it in 2017. Because really shit hit the fan emotionally. But business-wise, it was the best it ever been. Which is such a paradox.
Mm-hmm. Wow. 1400% agree.
1400, freaking love that. 1400%.
For real.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That is so dense.
Yeah.
So dense. And it's amazing because as things grow, we've reached, check marks in our path with the podcast and with XPAND. And there does come a point, if your intention isn't right, where you feel unfulfilled. And it's been actually such a freaking beautiful journey, because I talked about this with DMAC, how it seems to be a continual refinement of intention, right? Where we reach a place with our current intention, we realize, okay, maybe that's not what it is. And you get a little bit better, and you find this groove of where we should actually be operating internally to be in the world externally. And one of the biggest recognitions for me last year was what happens when you reach a certain point. And it seems to be the only way through is with more purposeful movement. And like, how do you move more purposefully from where you are? Instead of download numbers or whichever, like what's actually more purposeful? And from there, it's really helped me continue internally on that deeper path and have it blend into the external world as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's been a huge part for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, one of my mentors said it this way. He said, have everything, need nothing. And that is when you operate from that place, and it's like, maybe some people can just hear that and be like, yeah, but really remember, knowledge is one thing, embodiment is another. And so that's been part of my journey, is really, how would I embody that phrase? And to me, that's the ultimate goal, is have it all and need none of it. And be so filled up with the spirit that really, you don't need anything.
Yeah, we don't. I talked about that with another person on Wednesday, actually. But
and yet our soul's call is to continuously expand and grow and evolve. And so for me, it's been like, how can I continue? Not how can I, the intention and the vision is doing that while not needing it. And the fascinating part is that when I'm unplugged to the needing things to show up, that's when they unfold. That's when I get a call out of the blue this week and take a $25 million listing, but before I was like all tied to it and like, what's going to happen if I don't get it? We're going to lose this, and this is going to be bad for our business. And and I'm just like in spin mode, and I'm like, freaking out, I mean, seriously. And then it's like, okay, just like that moment. Okay, what's the lesson? All right. Lesson was, I need to be clear on my expectations with the team and how I want things to unfold. I take responsibility, because responsibility is really the gateway to change. It's like I put myself at cause, not in a victim way, not in a blame way, in an empowering way. And then from that moment, it's like, okay, God, you know what's best for me. I surrender and I let go and I allow you to work in my life. And then I went about my day fully present in the moment. And 4:00, I get a call and it's like, hey, it's some advice from a mentor, calls me out of the blue. He's like, hey, I think you should do 1, 2, and 3. And I do 1, 2, and 3. 5 minutes later, and I take this $25 million listing when, 6 hours before, I'm losing my mind, losing my shit, So it's that have everything, need nothing. I mean, that is power. That is true power.
It's interesting. There's a very common quote from Buddha. Attachment is the root of all suffering.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It definitely intertwines with what you're sharing here. Attachment is so fascinating, how deep it goes without us actually understanding it, even to an energetic sense. I'm curious, this could be an interesting little side note to this. What do we actually have? What is that conceptually? Because do we actually have anything?
No,
So
absolutely not.
would there be a different way to perceive or approach that concept? And maybe there's, this is just a planted seed for maybe a different time, but
yeah, no, I mean, we don't have anything. I think it's more like enjoy everything, need nothing, just being in that pure state of enjoyment. And some people, there's just so much conflict out there around abundance. It's like we've been programmed to want wealth and abundance, but then there's guilt associated with having it. And I mean, that definitely showed up for me on my journey too.
It's so interesting. So there's a concept too that a buddy of mine, Brett, you might know Brett, Home Smiles. Maybe, I don't know. He's a good dude.
Okay, I think I went to high school with him.
Yeah,
but we've definitely lost touch.
He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He brought this to my attention where if you're actually saying I want this, then you're actually getting exactly what you're asking for, which is the want of that thing.
Yeah, want equals lack. Yeah.
Yeah, right? So there's this interesting component where if we express this into the universe or into any form, we're getting exactly what we're asking for. So then there's that guilt when we get there, and there's a lot of little weird components that come into social media or influence from other people. It's so deep and so broad. It goes on pretty endless.
Yeah, I think definitely want equals lack for sure. So if we continuously focus on I don't know, for me one of the big goals was my husband and I wanted a condo in Mexico overlooking the beach, and that's where we got married, was in Puerto Vallarta, and it just means a lot to us, and we wanted that. And when I shifted that to I'm so grateful for having, the possibility to have this condo, then things just started to show up more, or just living from a place of pure enjoyment and creation. I once heard this quote that said, true masters have no distinguish. I'm going to totally say it different, but here we go. This is a Natalie version. So the quote, not sure where it's from, but it says something like, true masters don't differentiate between work and play. All work is play to a master.
I like that.
Because it's just creation. It's fun. And when we can, and then that means we're not attached to the outcome.
100%.
Because we're created to create.
I like that a lot.
We're creators, and we're co-creating with the divine. And so that's a fun part of all of it, is just letting go, creating from that fun, and that magnetism shows up. Being grateful for the thing that you desire prior to getting it, causing the effect, rather being at the beck and call of cause and effect, causing the effect. And that's why floating and meditation and journaling have been, and visualizing, and I call it mental rehearsal, have been such a big part of my journey, because truly we create our whole universe. We're the star of our own show. We're the director. We're the main, we're the protagonist. We're the screenwriter. We're the editor. We're everything for our own show. And so how can we create, the most elevated, the most fun, the most joyous, the most free, the most abundant and wealthy show is you in your mind. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've heard this. Our mind and body actually don't know the difference between real and imagined. Mm-hmm. So when we can begin to embody that new reality now and be greater than our external evidence that's showing up, like the external, oh, I'm poor. Oh, I'm working a 9 to 5 that I, hate. My boss sucks. I don't have the relationship that I want. And every day we wake up and we're thinking the same thing over and over and over again. And all of the evidence is showing us, yeah, you don't have it. You don't have the amount of money you want. You don't have the car you want. You don't have this. Then we're reaffirming, and our personal reality becomes our personality versus us adopting the personality that will then influence our personal reality. It's embodying the creative aspect that is God-given in each and every person. Mm-hmm. So powerful.
Yeah, it really is. A lot of it seems to boil down to how we perceive the information that we receive. Mm-hmm. And is our perception coming from our world or from the people around us?
Dude.
And that's what you start to discover when you go deeper.
Preach.
It's huge. Do I feel this way because my parents feel that way? Do I feel this way because the people around me feel this way? And when you start to get to, that level of reorganizing those deeper threads of why you even are who we are, that's where like the magic really happens.
Mm-hmm. And that totally, like what you said, 14,000%, 14,000%, Zarin, 14 freaking 1,000%. And that's what we do at our events. So like immersion, whether it's immersion in meditation or immersion in float or immersion in polar plunging, immersion is like a tool and a catalyst for change. So for our events, and we've been running retreats, since I was 13, I've been a part and really grown retreats since I was 13. It sounds really crazy. It's true though. And so really this journey to expose that and allow more people to access that has been the deepest work of my life. So much fear was attached to just me being me. Literally. And all of those threads, took the unraveling of all of those threads to get to the very core of what is my desire. And ultimately, like, it's safe and it's okay to just show up as me, no matter what. And that's what we take people through at our events. It's pure immersion. And people want to get wealthy. They want to make money. That's like the root desire. I feel like, if we were to label this podcast like, how to double your business in 12 months or how to retire at age 30, and which are all true things that I've done, like we'd get a shit ton more downloads than if we just said like how to unravel your unconscious and really tap into your authentic self. Like, it's hilarious to me. And it's like, okay, so what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about, the root, or do you want to do you want to talk about the surface and give you the mechanics of how we did that and all that? Or do you really want to unravel where things will show up for you like miracles? I was just talking to my friend Brittany last night, like miracles upon miracles have shown up, all stemmed from immersion and unraveling. It's so amazing. It's so fun. It's so fun to see how things just show up. Beautiful things, amazing things. And even when crappy things show up, remember, it's just passing like the wind. Everything changes.
Yeah, this too shall pass for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling that earlier when you mentioned feeling your emotions but not staying there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very powerful thing as well, because they really do seem to come in waves and phases of experience. And there is a lesson, I believe, through my own personal journey, through each wave of emotion that we're only able to learn during that time period, because maybe 4 hours or a week later, that's not going to be felt anymore.
Oh.
So where like that is presence to me, that's the importance of being present, is actually being aware enough and mindful enough to grab the gems that are present.
Shit, dude. That is so good. Grab the gems that are present. Oh my gosh, I love that, because there's so many gems that are always present.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, if we're awake and we grab onto them when they show up.
Yeah. I mean, it's related
Don't
to...
block your blessings. That's what I tell myself all the
rad.
time.
That's beautiful.
Don't block your blessings. Like, let them flow.
I get like sense of interesting signal through my body. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can relate it to if you were standing in a river, not flowing with the river.
Oh yeah.
But allowing the process of evolution of existence to flow around and through your being. What's there? This leaf is going to be gone in 20 seconds. Like, what are you actually able to be with during that time period? It's just kind of more of a sped up version of that, because like the Boise River moves pretty quickly, but conceptually it's super on point.
Wow. I'm going to have to like, that's super resonating with me, and thank you. Yeah. I needed that today. I needed to hear that, because you're right. And especially like, you know, we have a son and he's 2.5, and it's the same thing. It's like every day he's growing, you know, he's in that growth phase. And when, you know, presence is what causes me to pick up the gems that are right in front of me. And the difficult part with that for me is that part, being present, because when I'm present, I must feel.
Mm-hmm.
I must feel.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that has been the hardest for me, to allow myself to feel that anxiety, that lack. It's all boils down to fear or faith. I mean, in the end.
DMAC.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's why when I saw his podcast, or that
That's
snippet
awesome.
of it, I was like, this is what, that's the track I've been on for the last, 2019 was my year. I took this like vow of obedience. And you have to go, okay. Love you.
Thank you. No,
You're
perfect.
good. We love you. Let me stand up. Can I stand up?
Yeah. We took a very short pause and we are back.
Okay, awesome. So 2019, I took this vow of obedience to follow the inner guidance that was showing up for me no matter what, without questioning. So if I felt like, and everyone's had this, you in your head, you're like, oh, I got to call so-and-so. And it's like, oh, I'll do it later, you know? And so I just took a conscious vow to act in faith no matter what was showing up for me. And 2019 was like radical changes happened for me. Beautiful, magical, wonderful changes. You like just acting in concert with the divine and spirit. And it really stemmed from acting in faith. And 2018 was my feel, deal, heal. So 2018 was like that year of wading through all of that junk and trash and limiting beliefs and just lies, wading through the fear really to get to the faith. And now it shows up like, you know, it's not as concentrated. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not as concentrated. Like 2018 was like that year where it was like fear concentrate. Like that's what I had. Fear concentrate. And that was the first time I floated. And so,
Dang.
yeah.
Wow, that timing of that's powerful.
So powerful. Well, because I was searching. The Bible says, seek and you'll find. And that's the thing, is like, I think the most important quality to be a human, like an alive human, is to seek. I was seeking. I recognized I am in suffering. Like I am in suffering. What is that? Not being able to be present. And so I was seeking. I was like, I just would ask for guidance. What are ways I can get out of this? Show me the way. Show me the way. And so many people showed up to help me. Like randomly, a friend would recommend a book. right? And I'd read that book and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this helped so much. And then, you know, randomly I'd think maybe I should float, you know, and then that journey helped so much. Or randomly be like, oh, I need to go to that event. And I did it. And then that helped so much. And it was just little by little, me crossing the river, every stone appeared.
Dang. So way to be in tune, by the way, with that part of yourself, and to not dismiss those feelings or patterns of thought that come in when they seem to hold more value than others. This is kind of a cool segue into. It's amazing. This is actually one of my favorite things about doing the podcast, and this podcast is we've been talking for 35 minutes, and it's been so natural and such a beautiful representation of how you actually are internally in discussion with outside input that hasn't been scripted or anything. So it's like this really beautiful dance and play and discovery with another human.
Yeah.
And
this is my favorite. I mean, if we had a script, I think it'd be ridiculous.
It wouldn't work.
I can't even operate off of a script. I don't understand anything.
I don't want to.
Yeah. What's the script?
Yeah, it's weird.
I'm writing it as I speak.
100% agree. Yeah, that's it's so fast. Side note into what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
I spoke at the Float conference in Denver last
year.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's there's a couple of them every year, but it's the world's biggest international float conference, the one that I was at.
Whoa.
And spoke for 20 minutes, no script.
Yeah.
Just like truly, like I really do feel like if we're present enough and we are well familiarized with what we're expressing, you don't need something to tell you what to do. It's inside of your body. It's in your DNA now. It's been embedded in who we are. And yes.
Well, the Bible says, and I think you're going to love this, the Bible says the Spirit knows all things. Knows all things. And so when we integrate our mind, body, soul, and spirit, really it's a matter of unraveling enough to tap in. Once we're tapped in, we know all things. Therefore, every single one of my speaking engagements, I never, ever, ever write a script out. Never, not once. And I think I freak people out, you know? I mean, my husband is totally like
people worry about that.
Yeah. My husband's totally used to it now. But, you know, in the beginning, he'd be like, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, I don't know yet, you know? And he's like, well, don't you think you need to? I'm like, no, like, and now he just laughs and he goes along for the journey, but it's interesting.
Yeah. For other people who can relate to that listening, there was, many circumstances where it was uncomfortable to tell somebody, like, don't worry about it. Like, don't worry about what I'm going to talk about. Like, it's going to be there. It's going to be present. It's going to come as it should. And there's some weird kickback that can happen from being that way. And just know, like, you are the person on the journey and you are the person who knows the information. You're the one that is doing the speaking engagement or whatever it may be. Like, allow that to be your platform and your foundation to move from. You have experience, you have knowledge, you have a reason to be there when the other person isn't. They cannot comprehend your level of knowledge because they aren't where you are perceiving what you are perceiving. And that is unbelievably important to hone into. And same with another person, if that person asking you was doing a speech on some other topic, you might be like, what are you going to talk about? And they might not need to write anything down because they know it so well. So there's an interesting component there of we really do all hold very unique value. And some people need something and some people don't.
I think I was just coaching a gal I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and her goal was to become a better speaker and a better podcaster. And so I do have a framework. It's not writing a script. It's just a framework, but really the mindset piece of it has to be in place first for the framework to even work. And scripts are limiting. They're not even real, because think about the mindset you have to be in to create a script versus the mindset that we're in right now, just being in flow. Totally different.
Extremely different. like extremely different.
And so the framework that I teach people for speaking and podcasting really helps them go from feeling like they need that script to be worthy enough to speak, because that's really it, to then embodying their message and letting it flow out of them.
It's so fascinating. A big part of actually why I don't vibe with the script or preparation in that sense. Of course, there's preparation. That's just kind of a given.
Every moment is a moment of preparation.
Thank you, by the way, for saying that, because I really do believe and feel that as well. Every moment is in preparation for another moment. I really do feel that. That's beautiful. Oh, what was I gonna say?
Sorry.
Okay, no. That's so good though.
But you said the reason you don't vibe with the script is
because who am I to suggest I know exactly how that moment is going to be? If I'm preparing in a moment that is not that moment, it actually feels like a major disconnect from genuine, honest truth and alignment with the cosmic universe we all are in. So to be able to be where we are, knowing that you are in the process of preparation beforehand and knowing where you are when you are actually in that moment. And that to me feels like actually being aligned with something and not trying to like force myself upon a scenario and like think I know what's going to happen when we don't.
Absolutely.
We legitimately don't.
Yeah. I just thought this, and I don't know if this is like too. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with it. So something just came through when you were talking about that, and I thought, like, how does nature work? I mean, nature's like not writing a script for how the flower's gonna bloom. You know, all creation expands in its time.
Yeah, it goes with the sun. It goes with the soil. It goes with the roots. It goes with
in
how
the present
wind is
moment.
blowing. It really does. Yeah. Like that's purity. Like,
Yeah.
I love purity.
So drop into the present moment. And, you know, I think it's easier for us to say that, like you and I, because we've unraveled so much. But really, if someone's if someone just like pops on and they're listening right now, you're like, well, what the, you know, like so easy. Like, yeah, just like get in the present moment, you know, and that's really where my calling is to help people unravel so that they can be present, so that they can tap in, so that flow is there. I'm the guide on the unraveling journey. But first, I had to unravel myself, because you can't unravel anybody else if you've never unraveled yourself. You can't guide someone on the trek through the wilderness if you haven't trekked it yourself.
I mean, you can, but it may not be that efficient.
You won't know shit.
For sure. That is a weird, unfortunate problem that seems to be happening more and more, is people guiding without the proper experience.
Yeah.
And it's that's a whole different topic. But
and here's the thing with that. Okay, so
this is a supernatural discussion.
I am like getting so fired up, because so when you're a seeker, like we are, and like many, I think, people watching and listening to us, because that's why they're accessing this information, because they're on their journey, they're seeking. When you're a seeker, please hear me. Act with discernment. There were so many times in my journey that, because I felt that really urgency to find that breakthrough, I tapped into guidance, coaches, videographers, you know, social media people that had not trekked the wilderness to where it was that I visioned myself going. They hadn't crossed that part of the river before, yet they appeared like they had. And because my desire was so strong to trek that section of the wilderness or cross that section of the river, and I didn't stop for discernment, I wasted a lot of money. I lost a lot of money, but really, what did I really lose? I gained a lesson. And it's important for me to tell people that stop for discernment, like really discern where it is and with whom, whose events are you going to? What are you listening to? And what is behind that message? Zarin, don't you think that's so important? Because there's a lot of guidance out there. And for a seeker, you might be so excited and you just plug in without discerning really the depth of truth behind what it is that wants to guide you. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm speaking from experience because there's so many times in my journey. I mean, for instance, I spent $18,000 on a coach one time. Horrible. I spent like 30 grand on some other people. I'm going to save them, not call them out, but, and it wasn't their issue. Do you get it? It's me. I was so eager on the journey that I didn't even stop for discernment. I didn't say, have they crossed this part of the river before? They sound like they have. They have a shit ton of Instagram followers that they purchased. Because like literally everybody in this, not everybody, many people in this space, like 15,000 followers, 40 likes on their photo. Come on, friend. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, come on, friend. And I was just like, oh, she must know so much more than me. She must this, she must that. I'm so eager. I need guidance. Here's my money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Whether it's intuition or discernment or patience or...
I mean, this is real shit. If we want to help people, I think this is a message people need to know.
Yeah, but it's also really important for you to have experienced that.
Oh, I know. I was like, oh, God. I was like, this is obviously part of my trek in the wilderness, right?
Totally. And it's, it's important to have skin in the game or whatever phrase you want on that, and to have the experiences where we thought we were moving efficiently and properly and we weren't. And this kind of ties into what I feel like is some of the most important awareness that we can have is a frame of reference. A frame of reference on what intuition feels like and what it doesn't feel like.
Interesting. Tell me about that. Tell me more.
So just for an example that would be good to use here would be when you are present and when you are not present. There is a frame of reference there when you know you are actually in the moment and when you aren't. So when we aren't in the moment, there is a sensation there. It's often a distance kind of sensation. It's a little more head heavy, and it could be like kind of an outer body thing in the room that we're sensing because we're actually in our mind somewhere else. So like, okay, there's a bumper there. I know where I'm at. It's like, this is where I actually am though. So you have a frame of reference on what the breath feels like, on what deep floating feels like, on what this chair actually feels like. And that goes for business moves, for following your intuition on, I've had a deep feeling of discernment and alignment. I went with it. Things went very well. I am making this other choice where that feeling wasn't present. Things probably could have gone a little bit better. So we have this frame of reference on the sensations that we feel when doing something. And that is so incredibly important.
Yeah.
Because that is our compass. Like that is the guide.
Oh, yeah.
And for me on my own personal journey, what I feel a big part of what we do for people or what coaches have done for me, not coaches, more, I don't even know what to call.
Guides.
Yeah, guides. People really deeply on the path.
Mentors. Seers.
Yeah, these are all just words though.
Yeah, I know.
They're just like when you talk about somebody who spent their lifetime with plant medicine and being a shamanic healer for 80 years.
Yeah.
What is that person?
Exactly.
They're a beautiful representation of the path.
Yeah.
And with that, that's a different kind of frame of reference. This person, this being is able to show you what that being feels like, what wisdom feels like. Now we have this other like tool in our toolbox, but I actually lost what I was going to say.
No, I think you were talking about how to tap into your intuition and how to really get that discernment and what that feels like in your body. And then you kind of segued to guides that have shown up that are aligned.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, damn, you're beautiful. Thank you. So it feels like
I was present. I was listening the whole
amazing.
thing.
They're the best. Cool. So I've been running a program for about 8 years, and what it boils down to is showing people how to follow their own intuition.
Oh, cool.
And where your foundation is and who you are, not who I am. How do you listen to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is what I feel like the purpose is how do we help each other listen to who we are? Because like that
say that again.
is how do we help people listen to who we actually are, who they are. That's all we can do for people. I can't teach you or show you anything. I can think I'm fucking doing that. But in reality, you are the person receiving the information.
Well, and then it becomes all about ego. Like I showed so-and-so
Yeah, totally.
versus helping. Like that's why I mean, I call myself a coach. However, just because that's the language that I can put on it. But really it's guiding someone on the trek to finding and really tapping into their own set of their own souls unfolding. I mean, really, that's it. And you're 100% right. You can think you're doing that. And that's where I think that's the discernment piece I'm talking about. Because it's like,
it's literally not happening. And like, but we can think it is. And that is like a weird dichotomy there.
Yeah.
Like you are the one learning your lessons. You know what I mean? And vice versa. And the people in our environments help us do that. But they don't do it for us.
Right.
And like that is an interesting component to it. Like that's a major part of Bruce Lee's philosophy in coaching. In the sense of, I can't teach you anything. What I can do is provide you with an environment for you to teach yourself.
Yeah.
Safely, with guidance, with everything.
Did you know that, I think it was, oh, dang, I don't know who it was. I'm like, I can't remember people that say things. I think it might have been like Einstein or someone said, I don't teach my students anything. I only provide them the environment in which to learn. Do you know who said that?
I don't know who said that.
Could be Bruce. Well, anyways.
It could be Bruce, it could be Einstein, who knows?
It's exactly what you're saying. And oh gosh, okay. So like, I'm going to say some shit that's just like, bold AF. Are you ready? So that's totally in line with what you just said. And that's like that. That's something that I don't know why I get so passionate about it. I do know why. It's because I fucking care. Like I care so much. And my top 3 values in career are impact. Like it actually must make a difference. For you, like the thing, the capsule, the experience, the coaching. It must actually move the needle. It's not about elevating me. Like I'm good, believe me, And then passion, I must be passionate about it. And the last one is it must free me and others through the process. And so I went to this conference. I'm going to keep her name because it's not about her. It's about what happened there. So I went to this conference last summer, June 2019, and super mainstream motivational coach female. And I go, okay, 7,000 women, maybe it was 3,000. I think it was 3,000. Maybe it was 7,000. I can't remember. Actually, it was 7,000 because it's a huge stadium. So there were 7,000 women there. And she says that she's a coach for women, which I always think that's funny because I'm like, oh my gosh, because women and men are so different. That's just a personal thing. Don't you think that's weird? How people are like, I am for women or for men. I don't know. That doesn't resonate with me, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not my path.
It's not my path either.
But I can see the path being helpful.
I can see the path being helpful as well. It's not my path. Thank you for that. So I'm at this place and, people flew in from places. They spent their money, they spent their time, spent time away from their kids. Their husbands had to, do it alone for the weekend. You know what I mean? Like, it's a sacrifice. We get done with the 3-day event. I think it was 3 days, maybe 2 days. I think it was 2 days. I went there to see what's being offered. Like I went there for research purposes. I also went there with an open mind and open heart to receive whatever there was for me there as well on my own journey. I walked away to my car, the car that I rented. I was with a friend. So passionately, I felt like an injustice had been done. And I'll walk you through because then I came down, because I'm a feeler. I guess just a feel, deal, heal. So like, I feel like there was an injustice there. Like the whole thing was like, speakers speaking to you, speaking at you, trying to put their whatever onto you versus, and I mean, I'm just going to say it because I'm bold and it's real. Like what we do in our experiences fucking works. The reason why, because it ain't me telling you how to have a breakthrough. It's me guiding you and the whole team, the whole event through experiences that get you out of your comfort zone, out of your logical brain, into your being. And then you're having your own breakthrough. Everybody there is taking something different away from the event. You're reflecting upon how you showed up 50 feet up in that tree when you were stuck and were scared to jump off. It's you reflecting how you didn't engage vulnerably in the moment and waking up to what blocked you in that moment. It's you getting to know you for maybe the very first freaking time. And this other event was like these people trying to just like throw like knowledge at people. And the overarching takeaway from the event, from the participants, was, oh, I'm so messed up and I have so much work to do. I better go back and get into counseling. Okay, that's an okay takeaway. But my heart was broken, Zarin. I'm walking away from that. I thought to myself, that's 7,000 souls that could have been radically impacted by taking them through and providing a space for growth rather than trying to tell them my journey and make my journey theirs. And I walked to my car. I was like crying. I was like yelling. I was so mad and so sad for the missed opportunity. Like you were saying in that, being in the river and the leaves are 7,000 leaves. It was just like, shoo, gone, and of course there's always other opportunities and things like that. However, that moment, it marked me, and any hesitations and fears about me showing up greater and greater and greater started to go away. Cause I was like, what are you doing? If you're really mad about that, Nat, then put on the event that you've wanted to put on.
That's actually what I was receiving while you were sharing that.
Yeah. And it was fine. And that's her path. And yet there was just such a missed opportunity there, and that's fine. And that's where I come in. Because this is my path. And this is what I'm called to provide and guide people into. And it's real and it's good. Just like you and what you do. You're a guide. You're not telling people what to do. I mean, you never once, when I go into float, you're never like, do this. Here's the protocol. I mean, you like kind of maybe say like, here, put some Vaseline on your cut so you don't sting or whatever, right? But you're not like, okay, when you go in there, like do this breathing technique and then do this and then, oh, watch out for this, then watch out for this. You provide the space and you let people have their own breakthrough, their own experience, because that is what moves the needle for people. And that's what you do. That's what I do. And that actually creates generational change and ripples beyond what we'd ever could imagine.
Wow. Thank you for that insight, by the way, at the end of that.
Yeah.
Because it is nice. I mean, I don't want to say nice. It's helpful when we hear how other people perceive who we are. Because it paints another way to perceive what we do.
Yes.
Or why we do it, or how we do it, or etc. So you may have heard me talk about this before, but a big part of mission and path, I deeply believe and align with helping move the evolution of consciousness further and further along. And that is aligned with people having their own experience.
Dude, totally.
And that's aligned with helping our children grow up in more mindful and healthier environments. there's a lot there, but conceptually it's very important.
Yeah. We always, to Tino, we always say, our 2.5-year-old, I always give him choices. And I always say, Tino, you have the power to choose. Do you want to, go to your toy room and play? Or do you want to keep doing this other behavior that's not so great? Because both of them have different consequences. And let me tell you, when we go to the toy room and play, it'll be fun. If you continue throwing these balls across the room, you might break a window. And also, that's not what we do here. And that'll cause a timeout in your room, 2 minutes or whatever. But it's your choice. So you just let me know what you want to do.
That's amazing, by the way.
You just let me know. I'll be here. But see, here's the thing is like, I can't really authentically say that if I'm triggered and freaking the F out.
For sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
So it's finding that center in the middle of the storm.
Dang, that's a whole podcast on its own.
Yeah. That conscious parenting thing.
Oh,
I mean, I'm totally like on that journey right now.
Yeah.
It is because he's in the pure theta waves right now. So it's his unconscious mind. I'm installing every single program that'll run that child for the rest of his life. That'll run that man that carries my legacy and my husband's legacy forward. And honestly, it's not just our legacy, it's all of our ancestors. And it's just, I mean, really, if you go back, we're all one. So
you're awesome, by the way. We're an hour in already, and
I think we got a lot there.
That's amazing. So the one question that I've been wanting to ask.
Oh gosh, okay.
And not even wanting to, but I feel like it's important for background and details and description.
Yeah. We didn't even start there. We just like sat down and we
That's
just like,
the best.
Yeah, we just dove right. We were, I mean, I just wear a super line. I think I did meet you after my first float. And I don't know if you remember this, but were you on like an Aubrey Marcus, some sort of, I totally met you. I totally met you in 2018, my first float. And I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. So I did that last year and I'm doing it again this year.
Okay. So it must have been early 2019. I met you or something. Yeah.
Or I was prepping for it.
You were prepping for it. You were prepping for it in 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's when I first met you, and you were really excited about the thing, and you were kind of telling me and stuff. And I just remember I'm like deep in like my own shit, and I'm like barely surviving, and I just had a horrible experience in the pod, and which is actually a beautiful experience, right? And you're like telling me all this awesome stuff, and in my head I'm just like, good for you, kid. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, peace out. That's great. That's good for you. That's amazing. Moving on. Gotta go to my next thing, And it's just funny how the path, circles back always. And
100%.
Yeah. Because I feel like, when talking to you and feeling your energy, there's a familiarity there, which is really cool. And this is the first time we've ever sat down to talk ever.
Yeah, I actually like doing that. I don't like to meet before a podcast.
No.
I like to just get to know somebody.
Yeah.
And allow that to be as natural as possible. And it happens to be an hour-long, very beautiful discussion.
So what was the question?
So you host events, you do coaching.
Oh, like what do I do?
Kind of, yeah.
Can I give them my like...
It's amazing because you just described it all.
Yeah.
And that's why I love long-form discussion.
Right.
But to kind of do it in a little bit of a different sense, like what got you doing that?
Yeah.
And how come you're going about it the way that you just have described the past hour?
Yeah. So what got me doing that? Oh man. So you're trying to make it short form answer?
I mean, as the answer that it should be.
Yeah. All right. So I'm a very, I love to grow. I love to expand. And my whole path is about creating things from joy that will help other people unravel just the stories and things that have been passed down through the collective consciousness and also generationally. And it really does stem way back before you and I were even born, those stories of limitation, lack, scarcity, and all of that. And so I'm a guide and a coach that twofold, which is kind of interesting. I definitely help people on tactics and strategy and action. And we have a company with 30 employees in the real estate investment space and do lots of things with them apart. So I can't even talk about it because it's like funny to me. Cause like, I'm like, yeah, I do that. We have like a multi-million-dollar business, 30 employees, invest in real estate, help people get freedom through wealth and investing. And then, so I can help people with tactics and how to grow their business and all of that. And yet really 80% of success in business is psychology. And so what my passion is and what works and what impacts people's lives is taking them into an immersive experience where they can let go, truly, truly let go, not walk out thinking that they need more counseling and they're broken. Truly have an experience and an encounter with power, their true power, and empowerment in a group, because the collective is important for healing. And we're meant to help each other along on this journey. And so our event will be this summer. It's called Amplify, and that is what I do. And then I also have a select few one-on-one coaching clients, and I also help them unravel their baggage, and so that they can just take action that's aligned with them and really speed up the results that they desire to have show up. I mean, it just, once you get, I call it, it's like a Tupperware lid. Like, I don't know if this makes sense. It's like a Tupperware lid that like clicks on just like perfectly. Once we can align that unconscious and conscious mind, the actions you take have massive, massive results because you're in alignment versus feeling like that tug of war sensation inside of yourself that I've been through. So lots of techniques, mental and emotional release, neurolinguistic programming, trance techniques, hypnotherapy techniques. And so, the whatever the client needs is what I guide them through. And then of course, actions, tactics, strategies, and all of that. And that's great. And I can tell you all day long how to make $1 million and how to do a development in real estate and how to invest in real estate. I mean, I can tell you all that. However, if you don't really believe you can do it, you don't feel worthy to do it, you don't feel aligned to do it, you're never going to do it. And so, I want people to actually take actions that are aligned and really have the wealth and abundance that they truly desire and deserve. So that's what I do. And then I also do speaking engagements and just get the message out and things like that. I love that. And everyone always says, you seem like you have so much fun up there. And I'm like, I am. I'm literally like, I feel like a kid, like I'm literally having like the time of my life when I get to speak and get to, interact with audiences and things like that. And really what spurred me on this entire path, it happened when I was 13. So when I was 13, and I'm sure so many people can relate to this, a lot of my friends were struggling big time. Like, and friends talking about committing suicide, cutting, taking, doing hard drugs at that age, running away from home, experiencing lots of pain, lots of trauma and stuff. And I was obsessed with this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Nobody made me read it. Okay. I've always been a seeker. And have you read that book, 7 Habits of Highly? Okay. So anyways, I was obsessed with this book and it talked about, weird. My phone just said something. That's fascinating. Like it was Siri coming to tell us something. Well, moving on. Not sure what that even said.
Technology.
So, So the book, So this book was talking all about, these 7 habits on how to live your life. And I was super into it. And I was 7th grade president, 8th grade president, knew everybody's name and everybody in my whole class, not just the cool kids, everybody. And I would make it a point to like do 10 compliments a day. And I wore this little rubber band that I'd snap every time I had a negative thought. Like I was intense in a really good way. I was so joyous and everything. And then my friends started having these issues and the book said, if you get into a situation where, and it listed out all these things and you don't know how to deal with it, tell an adult. Which is so funny to me now. It's like, what the hell are adults going to do? You know what I mean? But the book had to say something about what to do. And so I'll never forget it. My mom and I, we were emptying the dishwasher, and it was probably the week before. One of my friends had run away from home, who was living in a park. And I'm getting really emotional. And another friend of mine said he was going to take his own life. And I was scared. I was frightened, and I didn't understand why. All of this was transpiring, and I was emptying dishwasher with my mom, and I told her what was happening. And I said, we have to do something, Mom. Like this book said, I needed to tell an adult. So I'm telling you. What are we going to do? And I just want you to imagine you're a parent. Your kid tells that to you. So what do you say? How do you respond when you're your child's hero and they're coming to you out of like pure desire to help? And my mom said, I don't know. I don't know what we can do. I'm not sure what to do. And I looked at her, and it was this moment I was like, is this a lie? Like, adults are supposed to help. Like, why aren't you helping? And I said, well, what needs to happen for you to actually help? Does someone have to die before adults will listen? And my mom looked at me like with this look of like, whoa, like it just like clicked for her. And she's like, you're right. She's like, let's do something. And so from that, we created this entire curriculum and this experience really of taking teenagers into the wilderness and doing these camps for free. And we've always done them for free. And that's why I say I got into this work at 13. And really, it's been this experience of taking people through a journey where they meet themselves. And when you meet yourself, when you feel that feeling of unconditional love that is at the core of every human and connects us all, there is no depression that will stand up to that. There is no cutting, no anxiety, no fear that can stand in the face of unconditional love. And really, that's what those events take people through. And it's been my absolute addiction and obsession for the last however many years. I'm 31, so you do the math. And then it became a conflict inside of my own being, because here I was, now I'm still doing the events, not talking about it, not telling anybody about it, too afraid to show people that this is really me. And then that became painful. It became more painful to stay small than to allow myself to expand out. And that was really the journey that I went on 2017 after having my baby, after my mom had a surgery that left her quadriplegic and she relearned how to walk and all of this stuff, and just miracles upon miracles, and really getting to know Christ, really getting to know Christ, like in a, like just as real as you and I are talking, like that. It just changed my whole life and allowed me to expand and to fulfill the mission that my 13-year-old self embarked upon. There was so much fear, though. I mean, even talking about this now, it's like I've come so far. It's just to even talk about this. Because the interesting thing is, it just seems so sacred to me, and it is. It seems so sacred to me, and I was just so afraid. What would people think about me? You know, people think I'm a weirdo. You know, I had an unconscious, I'd made a lot of unconscious vows of silence, vows of staying small, unconscious vows that were keeping me small. And then that was causing suffering inside of my own being. I had to unravel all of that. And it was tied to a lot. I mean, my journey, you know, I went through a trauma. I was, you know, molested at age 3. I was raped when I was 18. I was severely bullied. You know how I said 7th and 8th grade, I was like this positive person. I was severely bullied at the end of 8th grade. I ran for 9th grade president, walked in one day, all my posters were ripped down. The ones that were remaining had like, dicks drawn on my face and stuff. I was humiliated for showing up. And so it kept me small until, like I said, it was just became so painful, so much more painful to remain small and hidden because my soul wanted to expand. And that's why the journey back to who I am, really one of the times it began was in that float tank. And that's why I was like, I'm going to die in here. If I keep feeling all these feelings, I'm going to die. And I did die. The old version of me that was stuck, she's gone. Now I'm truly empowered and am here to guide people through this journey. That was the long answer.
No words would do justice for a response.
Oh, thanks.
That's super powerful.
Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to share and providing the space, because that's you as well. I mean, they say namaste, and I feel like that right now is like you gave me a gift today, and I'm really grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your journey, for your path, for unraveling everything, for being able to share as much as you're sharing. Beyond grateful for you to be here.
Thanks. I feel the same way. Thank you so much.
You're always welcome.
Thanks. I know.
Any remaining words, feelings, anything?
I feel super complete and whole. And
whole.
I realized that I said expand a lot, and I just didn't even put that together until right now.
That's amazing.
Because isn't your tag expand yourself?
Yeah.
So, so yeah.
Thank you, Natalie.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Much love. Much love.
Thanks.